Testing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like the end of it. Oh, actually, like around the bone right here. Testing.
No.
Right here.
Did you use your power strips?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
There's one here.
Hey, can you turn those on? Oh, yeah.
Alright. Did I use one of them?
One and two.
Did I use this one?
Yeah.
This is it.
You can plug that in there.
Just for the else on.
Oh, there we go. Alright, yeah, we need the... So we're going to have a little bit of a group discussion. I want it to be a discussion. So let's all come on in. So I did. Okay, it just came back. Okay, I got the email. All right, and let's start with a word of prayer. Max, would you have a prayer for us?
Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us. I ask that you would please be with us now as we come together to learn more about how to get to know you better. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here at you. Please be with Nathaniel as he leads up. In Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, so the point of AIM here, AIM all over, the point of AIM is how can we draw closer to God? And one of the ways that we can do that is through personal devotions. So that's going to be the theme of our discussion here is how should our devotional life look like? What are some habits that ways that we can do our devotions that would be most meaningful and uplifting to our spiritual life? Time to have our devotions. When should fill the front rows? Let's not have people all the way in the back. You're welcome to fill up the front rows. Yeah, fill them up. So, yeah, in the mornings. Daniel. So why should we have them in the morning?
First thing we do in the day. We should start our day off that way.
It's a time to connect with God. So, like, every morning you get up and eat breakfast. Why? Because it's necessary. You have to fill up so you have energy for the day. And the same thing with devotion time is that it's a time. It's a time for us to recharge, connect with God, so we can have that spiritual connection with God throughout the day. Go ahead.
Well, when do you fill up your gas tank? Before or after you go on a trip?
It's before. And that's why devotions is so important in the morning. This should be the very first thing you do in the morning. Any other comments? No one else? All right. So, for those who are wanting to get started doing devotions, I'm sure pretty much all of us here probably have morning devotions, but for those, if you're wondering, how do I do devotions? I've not done before. Anyone would recommend, what is a great resource? Like for me, I find it if I have a lesson plan, I can go and do that, and every day there's a lesson I do. Young Disciple is a great resource. They have daily lessons week by week. You can go through those, and yeah, you do the lessons. I don't know what more I can say about that. they're a great resource if you're first beginning out with devotions. And I've personally moved beyond that. I'm now doing the adult quarterly. That's great if you're older. I find that great because on Sabbath, well, for the week, I'm studying my lesson, and then at Sabbath, the whole church gets together and we discuss the lesson. So that's a great resource. Does anyone else have a comment? My sister.
Find a good Bible reading plan.
Find a good Bible reading plan. Now that's another great idea. Is if you'd rather not have a pre-planned lesson and you just want to read through the Bible, find a reading plan. I believe Amazing Facts has a great reading plan, and it's an excellent resource. I personally haven't done that, but if for those of you who want to do that, that's also a great resource. Who'd rather just read through the Bible. All right. Any other comments? Lana.
If you want to do something short and simple at first, you can just find a verse in the Bible that applies to you, or something that you can apply throughout the day.
All right. So something short and simple. And that kind of leads me to another question. How long should we spend in our devotions each morning? Kind of a tricky question. Adriana. Matthew, I think you might as well just stay back there.
One thing I've found in my experience is, first of all, our parents, they had us start out on personal devotions, they had us start out with just 5 minutes a day, and then you just slowly increase it. Depending on the person you are, that might work quite well. It might work for you to have a set time. I'm going to spend an hour here. But also you could think of it like an appetite. When you first start eating from the table of God's Word, you're not going to have a big appetite as someone who's maybe been partaking from that table for 50 years. So for you, where half an hour might be sufficient for you, someone else might be doing 2 hours. So just because your pastor is doing 2 hours a day doesn't mean you have to start and do 2 hours a day, you know? It can be like an appetite thing. For me, I don't like to have a set time, like I'm going to do this much. But I sit there and I just spend time with God and I connect with Him, and then once I connect with Him and I feel I've connected with Him, I can go throughout the day. So, it depends on the person you are. Some of you, maybe could do that. Others might be like, I need a set time. I need an hour, exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that. Whatever the Spirit leads you to do, I was kind of, in the beginning, my parents would choose a set time, 30 minutes a day, and do that. And so I would do that, and I just felt like at that point it was just a bit excessive. So now I got a lesson plan. I do my lesson, and however long it takes me, or however long I feel I need to spend studying the Word. Like if I'm studying an important subject, I may spend an hour. I could spend less or more, just however long I feel like. I don't feel like there's any right or wrong answer when it comes to this question. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Whatever God leads you, however long you feel like you need to take and study. But definitely something's better than nothing.
One thing that helped me when I was at the point where I was like, I don't really want to do an hour, was to just have the set time be really short, like maybe 5 minutes, and do something that is really applicable, or something that is, something that's interesting. And you'll find that very soon you'll want to be spending like all day, and you won't be able to. But also another thing is praying. Just pray that God will speak to you and that He will help you be interested in the study.
So devotions is more or less like you're talking to a friend. You're spending time with a friend. And here we've been able to socialize a lot with friends. And how much time do you like spending with friends? I bet it's a lot of time. I take as much time as I can. But when God's your friend, you want to spend as much time with Him as possible. And devotions is that time to do it. And prayer and all that. So if we're really excited about spending time with God, we'll spend more time in devotions. It's not a drudgery. Thomas.
Yeah, I want to say one thing about the set time aspect. I think having a set time is good, especially when you're starting out, because it's
Yeah,
like,
it's
okay,
good.
this is a goal, I need to learn how to spend time with God. But there comes a point where I think we can start asking God, how much time do you want to spend with me this morning? And then allow Him to lead through, throughout your devotional time, whether you're reading scripture, whether you're going through a lesson plan, whatever you're doing. And it really becomes more like a friendship rather than, oh, I just gotta do this amount. And so, because if you continue saying like, oh, I'm gonna have to do 30 minutes or an hour or whatever, it can easily become, and this is not the case for everybody, but for some people it can become a ritual. It can become just something like, oh, I have to get this done in order to be a good person. So I think the goal is have a set time to start out, and then as you grow in the Lord, then you can start to talk to Him about how long to spend each morning, and it will vary from morning to morning. So, yeah.
I agree with that completely. And I can see, it's good to start maybe setting goals, 5 minutes a day, growing that. But yeah, I can see it can very easily become legalistic. Oh, spend 5 minutes worship, go to church, and I'll be saved. That's not how it works. It's supposed to be a relationship. And so spending a set time with God, it could easily become legalistic. I can see that. Cameron.
Yeah, it's also kind of going off what some of the people were saying. It's more about the quality than the quantity. So it's not about how long did I spend with God today, and that's how good it was. It's how quality of a connection did I get with God today in my devotions. And did that take an hour and a half, or did it take 5 minutes?
That's a good point, yeah. Sometimes, all we need is 15 minutes. I'm not saying that's all we should give God, but yeah, quality is important. Go ahead, Thomas.
I just want to bounce off what Cameron said. I think we have to look at what is the purpose of devotions. If the purpose is to connect with God and for that connection to make a practical difference in our lives, then time is not as much of a factor, because I may have spent 15 minutes or whatever, but I may have learned something that I could literally apply to multiple situations in my day and thus better represent Christ. So if that's the case, then so be it if it was 15 minutes, because it was valuable to my Christian experience.
Yeah, and devotions, church, and all that can easily become a ritual where we go to church because we're Christians and that's what saves us, but it's not. The whole point of church and devotions is to grow in Christ, and we learn things there that enhance our spiritual life. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I hope you guys do, but a lot of people don't realize that. To them, it's just a ritual. Go ahead.
Just had one little question. How much time let me start off with this. All of us have idols that we need to tear from God's throne. How much time do we give to them? Whether we like sports, we spend a lot of time in it. If we like music, we spend a lot of time listening to those artists. If we like whatever, we spend a lot of time. God was meant to be, quote unquote, our idol. You know what I mean? So whatever time we give to what today are our idols, let's ask God to help us tear Him from His throne and let Him become our quote unquote idol. Even though I know it sounds a little bit disrespectful, let Him be our God.
And that's a very good point, that we're more than happy to spend time in the things that we enjoy doing. I'm not saying that's bad, but then we give God 5 minutes of our day. And I know this is something I'm struggling with. I'm sure this is something everyone struggles with. We're all in the Christian walk, and we're all working towards the perfect image that God has meant us to be. But yeah, very good point. Where's our idols?
Yeah, for me, one thing that's been important is it's something that I maybe should have mentioned a little bit earlier when we were talking about why we should do devotions in the morning. And for me, one thing that really matters to me is the mindset, because with my devotions, I make sure to spend at least as much time as I need to be able to get into the mindset of being a Christian and of serving Christ. Because as I go throughout my day, if I don't have that mindset, it makes it a lot harder to resist temptation and to do God's will for me. But when I choose to spend the time to gain this mindset, the mind of Christ, that then when temptation comes throughout the day, I find it a lot easier to resist it and to follow God's will for me.
Okay, yeah, and it's making that connection during your devotions time. It's like my sister said, when you fill up your car with gas, it's at the beginning of a trip. And so every day we need to make that connection. It's essential, gives you that mindset, and then we're able to continue. Is there anyone, some back over here? Finally, Matthew, we'll give you some exercise.
Going off of what Matthew said, like when I have devotions in the morning, it really sets the tone for the day. And I think it's crucial. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it does matter the amount of time you spend with God in the morning. But if you spend that time with Him, you commune with Him more during the day, which is also crucial. He helps you through your decisions and big stuff that goes on throughout the day. And so I think that devotional time is important in the mornings because it sets the tone for the rest of the day.
Sets the tone, establishes the connection between you and God, helps you grow spiritually, and also why we also have it in the morning is as the day progresses, you get busier and busier. And I know in our family, one issue is when we have family worship. I'm an early person, and I like to get going early, and my rest of my family not so much. So we usually have. I prefer if we had family worship early in the morning, but because I'm so busy, I get going in the morning, and then we forget about it. So it's so important that we have it in the morning because we're like, oh, do it later. Well, then we forget about it, we get busy, and then later it's like, oh man, I should have my devotions, but I just don't have time. And so that's why it's crucial to have it in the morning, because if we don't, we'll easily forget, and then we won't have that connection. Go ahead, Cameron.
Yeah, also something I found for myself is, I'm an early riser as well, but when I bounce out of bed at 5 a.m. or whatever, I don't feel like I'm ready to spend time with God. I'm kind of a little drowsy. So I find that's a great time to go for a run. And then come back and I give my best time. I'm most awake and I'm paying attention, giving my best mental time to Him. So I think it's also important to find time where you can really focus on connecting with Him and we're not so distracted by other things.
Yeah, going for a run, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah, I wanted to bounce off what Cameron said there. I find for myself, it's kind of challenging because I'm working on becoming a morning person. I'm not yet. And my other problem is, often when I wake up, I don't know, it takes me a little while to fully wake up. I'm very groggy, I guess. I don't know. So for me, I think trying to make it first thing is really important, but I don't necessarily make it like the very first thing I do, like I wake up and then like, boom, I'm in my Bible. Sometimes I need to get up and go for a walk or like go do something, physical so I'm fully awake and my brain is actually functioning properly, because otherwise I'm just going to be staring at my Bible with my eyes half closed. So I would say that there is a little bit of a balance depending on the person, whether or not you go do it instantly as soon as you wake up, or if you take a little bit of time to actually work on waking up. And you can spend that time in prayer, that'll help wake you up.
Yeah, I agree with that. Some people are like that.
Yeah, one more thing off of that as well. I find that it's really important, like she was saying earlier with the mindset and things, is to, even if you're not going to do your devotions as soon as you wake up, as soon as you wake up, just pray. Just talk to God as a friend. Good morning, here I am. Talk about your day and just surrender your heart to Him right off the bat. It's easy to wake up and roll over, check our phone, and be like, oh, I didn't get any texts or whatever. But it's really good, just even 30-second prayer, just before you go and do your run or whatever you're going to do. It just solidifies that, and you're showing God that, hey, I'm giving you priority. And just doing that, putting Him first mentally at the beginning of the day helps later on in the day.
And I think that's a good point. Yeah, if you have to, like Cameron or Thomas said, get up, go for a run, get your mind going, at least start the morning with a prayer.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And also, I'm also a morning person, and usually, I have this big pile of things that I want to do right away. But I've personally found that if I don't do at least prayer first, my day starts going downhill. Like, it's really interesting if you try it out or if you accidentally do. It really makes a difference.
Yeah. And as you guys can see here, there's no right and wrong well, I shouldn't say that exactly, but there is no, if you're looking to start a devotional life, there is no one answer to it all. As you can see here, some people need I can just wake up in the morning, have my devotions, and I'm good to go. Some people here need to wake up, go for a run, then have their devotions. So when you're starting a devotional life, you need to find what works for you. Take it between you and God. Find a habit that you can develop between you and God, and do that. So yeah, here these are people who are speaking here are giving you ideas. Go ahead, Robert.
So kind of jumping off what Cameron and Alana said. So I'm a morning person too, but when I get up, it's kind of like I kind of want to go back to sleep. But even though I like to get things done in the morning, I kind of need to get myself going with something else. But I think the problem that can rise from wanting to do something else before your devotions is what you're going to be doing. Like, go for a run, that'll get you awake, but don't be like, well, I need to get some things done before worship so I can get awake. Just do something to get yourself awake, but don't be like, well, I also need to check my Instagram and my messages and all that. Just get into that mindset and get yourself awake, and then do that. But I guess always make your devotions the priority.
Mm-hmm. Comment over here first, and then Alana.
Yeah, I agree with going on a run. I'm not kind of like the physical person. So if you probably don't want to go on a run, you might as well take a shower. A cold shower, that'll get you up. And I'm not a morning person. I'm more of a night person. Anybody? Everybody's a morning person here? Good night, thank you. Okay, so if you're a night person like me, like more of not a morning person, just get a shower or do something else, like Cameron was saying, go on a run, but just do it. Don't, just because you're a night person, don't stay in bed. Don't sleep in. Prayer. If you start off your day with prayer, I don't know if it was you, Cameron, or if it was Thomas or someone else, I was saying, do a prayer right when you wake up. Thank God for the day. Ask Him what He wants for you to do in that day, because every day is different. No day is alike, and God has different plans for each day for you specifically. So, start off with a prayer, and as you go on with praying, ask God. Ask God to bring names to you so that you can pray for those people. Don't only pray for yourself. When you start praying for other people, you start thinking about others instead of yourself. And that gets your mind going, and since you know a lot of people, you have a lot of names to pray for. So that's some ideas there.
Yeah, definitely having a prayer list is a very good idea. That's something I've been trying to work on. It's too easy to pray for myself, all the things, and I need help for sure, but other people need help as well. We definitely need to remember them in our prayers. I think Alana had a comment first. She had her hand up. Oh, go ahead.
So the thing that helps me, I too am a morning person, and I have to go get the day going before I start my worship. But something that really helps me is have an interesting worship waiting for you so that you want to go back. Because right now I'm reading through the testimonies of the church, and it's kind of like a story and it builds on itself, so I want to go back and I want to read it because I want to find out what happens. And so I think that's really key in wanting to come back to worship after.
Yeah, definitely. When you're starting devotions, don't read through the book of Deuteronomy or Numbers or the genealogies. You definitely want to start somewhere interesting. You want to develop an interest for it. And then maybe, if you're interested, go to Numbers. I mean, there is some interesting information in there.
Basically, just be intentional with what you do in the morning before, devotions. We can't do it right away. Like what everyone is saying, just be intentional with what you're doing.
In other words, don't base it off of feelings. Oh, I don't feel like doing it this morning.
The thing about prayer, one thing I did for a little while, was you said something about a prayer list. I took some index cards and I sorted them alphabetically, and I wrote down on the index cards people's names and things that I was going to pray for them for. So that's an idea, if you want, to start praying for people. get some index cards and sort them out that way, right, what you need to pray for the people for. And then you can just pull them out and you can just go through them in the morning. You might not get through all of them, but you just have that, and it's a good way to organize and pray for different people.
Yeah, and there's many ways of doing it. If you're a digital person like me, you can create a list on your phone. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. But yeah, good idea. Go ahead.
Bouncing off of prayer ideas. In the morning it can be easy, you close your eyes to pray, and then you find yourself asleep.
Yep.
And so prayer walks are great.
Yeah, like Cameron, he likes to go out running in the morning. That would be a great time to do it. Matthew?
For me, I just wanted to bounce off one point that Jose said. When we get up in the morning sometimes, and it's sometimes it's really hard to concentrate because you're just thinking, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to do this, or sometimes, or just consider different situations where you may be like, oh, I don't want to pray, I feel terrible. The best thing you can do in that situation is pray for someone, because it gets your mind off yourself and puts it on other people, because there's always people going through worse things than what you are.
All right, Thomas, and then I think we got to end. I think lunch is ready.
Okay, so briefly, I wanted to go off of what Robert and Alana were saying earlier. I think the gist of this idea of trying to do something to get your mind going before starting devotions is getting into the mindset of whatever I do before my devotions, I'm doing so that I can be better prepared to do my devotions. It's not like stay away from school, stay away from work or whatever else. Start with whatever you start with. Make it so that you're doing it in the mindset of, I need to do this so I can have a better connection with God. And one last thing I want to say, generally, unless I'm traveling, I have a habit of keeping my phone downstairs. So I know a lot of us probably struggle with this. My phone used to ruin my devotions. So if you can, I would strongly recommend just keep your phone out of your room if you can't resist the temptation of picking it up in the morning.
Yeah, I'll tell one quick story. There's a college student, I believe, and he was doing school and stuff like that, but after a while his mind would be cloudy, and so he would go run around the building a few times and go back, and his mind would be cleared up. He could do school. So yeah, definitely do something. If you're not a morning person, definitely get up, do something in the morning that clears your mind so you can have your devotions. Like Cameron said, he goes for a run. Great idea. Early morning walk, I've done that a few times, and it's great going to walk early in the morning, see the sunrise. One more, and then we got to quit.
And also, for me, I'm not really a big reader or anything, and you don't have to have some complicated thing where you write a bunch of stuff down, read a bunch of chapters. I just do, sing a few hymns and read a chapter. And, so you don't have to have it complicated, but you don't want it little, just, I'm going to read a few verses, then go out. If you read a few verses, you would actually want to go look and see, try and understand them.
Yeah, I used to do where I would read chapters of the Bible, and I wouldn't get anything out of it. And so I decided, instead of reading chapters of the Bible, just read a few verses, understand them, and then that's the best way, by far the best way to do your devotions. And commenting on what you said, totally, if you're, I know a lot of, when I started devotions, started with something simple. I was younger, didn't understand a lot, and I still don't understand a lot, but start with something simple, and eventually we'll work up to the more complicated, to where now you're studying Revelation and Daniel, and you can understand it, Ezekiel and Isaiah and all that, and you start simple, and then just like little kids, they start with milk, and then they work up to where they can eat raw food. That's the way as Christians, as our devotional life progresses, we'll work up to more and more complicated things. I think we better quit now. It is 12 o'clock, so we'll say a blessing for the food. Would somebody like to pray for us? I will assign someone. Cameron. You can pray.
Father in heaven, Lord, thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you every day. It's a privilege. And I just thank you that we can spend this time together and share and encourage each other in this walk with you. Help it to be a walk that deepens every single day. And even though we're all busy and sometimes we feel like we can't do it, I just thank you that when we do take that time, that you reward us later in the day and you help us through all the tasks that we do need to complete, and you understand that. And we just thank you so much for that. And please bless the food, all the hands that prepared it, and just bless everybody. Let's have an awesome day and draw closer to you. Amen.
Thanks for participating, everyone.
Just a quick reminder, so meals are going to be ready, I think, anytime now. They may actually already be ready, I'm not sure. Remember wearing your mask in the meal line and during meetings. And make sure you're wearing your name tag as well so we know that you have ordered food. Thank you.